Hello, guys, and welcome to the Nintendo E3 Showcase 2021. I'm joined by Lily Kirchner-Wilson, Mike McCann,
Hi.
Luke Hemming,
Hello.
and Sandy Kirchner-Wilson.
Hey.
And I'm your host, Neil Flynn. And we are here today specifically to talk about Nintendo's E3 Showcase. We're going to talk about our predictions first, and then we're going to talk about things that we know that's probably going to be shown. Nintendo are going on Tuesday this time, so we do have a bit more time. Everybody else has probably have gone before them by the time we get them on the show floor, proverbially, of course. They're going to be on Tuesday the 15th of June, 5 p.m. UK, 9 a.m. West Coast time in the US, and 6 p.m. obviously for those in the Central European time regions. Guys, Nintendo, we're all massive Nintendo fans, and we're going to have to fly through this list. So I'm going to first throw over to, let's say, Luke. What do you think is a maybe? And I'm going to go here with saying, and leading the way from Final Fantasy.
Yeah, this is a big maybe, but it's something, I think I say this every year. Even the years before I met you guys, just shouting into the wind, whoever I could get hold of. Did you know this should happen? But I'd like to see 1 to 6 Final Fantasy as a collection on the Switch. Nintendo was its home originally. They've ported over 7 onwards, but if they put those together, I think that would be a good introduction for everyone. And portable Final Fantasy is never a bad thing. I should not have to use my PSP to play old Final Fantasies. Like, this should just be readily available on my Switch.
It's doable. We've seen the Secret of Mana sort of collection. We've seen other collections as well from other companies.
Yeah, we've got Final Fantasy Legend collection, the Game Boy titles, which are on the system. So why not? Why not the other ones?
I'd like to see some sort of little extra bonus features on that as well. I think.
Game art, game art instruction manuals. Put them all in a nice little museum section.
You don't want to see a Final Fantasy VII remake chibi style like they did with Final Fantasy 15?
No, I had that, and no.
No. Oh, Sandy.
They're making the mobile like Final Fantasy VII remake thing, and I think there's a big chance that would then get ported to Switch. So that'd be entirety of Final Fantasy VII and all the side stories in that sort of top-down original Final Fantasy VII style.
Yeah, what is that called again? Isn't it Last something or
Final Fantasy VII? This is all the bits together.
Yes, that was it. Yeah.
I think it's very doable that comes to Switch. By the way, they did it with Final Fantasy 15. They did it episodically, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Maybe. I'm going to go with something that is going to blow everybody's mind. I'm going to say Mario Kart 9. I think Mario Kart 9 could be for this holiday. And the reason why is we'll get into how everything else pans out. But I think Mario Kart 9 is their big game this year. And the reason why I think they'll do this, Mario Kart 8, easily their bestseller. I mean, in one hand, I kind of think, in my left hand, I think that that's my left hand. In my left hand, I think that they won't do it because it'll cannibalize the sales of 8. It's blowing everything out of the water. It's the best-selling game on Switch. On the other flip side, I think they could do Mario Kart 9 now, and then have a Mario Kart 9 Deluxe on the next Nintendo console after the Switch in a few years' time, and then they'll resell that, and then that way they've got a game that comes out on the new Nintendo console on launch, like how it came out with the Switch and Mario Kart 8 near launch, and you could resell the same game twice, and I think people will buy it.
I absolutely hope you're right.
Yeah,
it's about time we get a new Mario Kart.
The tracks, there's nothing wrong with the tracks. They're great tracks, but I'm wanting to see some new tracks. I've played these tracks now for 6-7 years. I mean, Mario Kart 8 came out in 2014.
Mm-hmm.
I know we had the DLC, but it's still I know we had battle mode this time around as well with the deluxe version, but I just think we need a new Mario Kart. I know we have had Mario Kart Tour on the phones. I know we've had a live home circuit, which was great. I loved live home circuit, but I think Mario Kart 9 could be the thing. I'd like to see some more customizable courses. The things that they do in Mario Kart Tour on the mobile games, they've remixed all the courses. They've mirrored them. They've put them in reverse. They've done so many things to them, and then they've edited some of the tracks as well. I think it's a no-brainer. But what about you guys?
Mario Kart Maker.
Oh,
that's something. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Mario Kart 8 Maker.
Yeah.
Mario Kart with an 8.
Maker.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, it's a long shot because in one hand, if I was a Nintendo, I'd just keep selling Mario Kart 8 as a dream. Bundle it with consoles, just be done with it, and then have Mario Kart 9 as a launch game for the next Nintendo console. I think they do either one or the other, but yeah, people have been clamoring for new Mario Kart, and I just kind of wonder what is going to fill that holiday window for Nintendo.
And everyone loves Mario Kart. It sells like hotcakes.
But Mike, staying with you then, who else do you think could make their appearance? Which other big IP?
Well, the rumor I've heard is that the Super Mario Odyssey team could potentially be working on a 3D Donkey Kong Country Land World kind of game.
Yep.
The Donkey Kong 64 kind of game, which I don't know if this is substantiated at all. It sounds pretty way out there. So I think the likelihood of it is quite low, but I do like the idea of it very much so.
The idea of this.
Yeah.
I love the idea of having a Donkey Kong 64 2 or Donkey Kong 512 if we're going by bits.
Yeah.
Assuming that the consoles have got up sequentially. But a new Donkey Kong game would happen. It's his 40th anniversary. Who do you think? So you think the Super Mario Odyssey team are developing this? Or
That's
you think
the rumor I've heard, yeah.
Okay. You don't think Retro are working on anything simultaneously?
I think Metroid Prime 4 has consumed Retro with all of their hirings and stuff. I think they're 100% making that happen. There have been job listings which have suggested they're gearing up on other titles after Metroid Prime 4. But the development cycle of just the length of the development cycle for Metroid Prime 4 does suggest that it's been pretty all-consuming for them.
Do you know what I want now? I don't want Mario Kart 9. I want Diddy Kong Racing, and I just want Nintendo to be making Diddy Kong Racing instead, and then that could also Donkey Kong could be in Diddy Kong Racing because he wasn't in it last time. Both times that they've done the game.
Donkey Kong Racing.
Donkey Kong. I like the idea of Diddy Kong Racing because they did do a Donkey Kong Racing game on the Wii, and I don't think it was that great. But yeah, it would be
Donkey Kart.
It would be Donkey Kart.
Oh, Wario Kart.
Oh, don't.
Waluigi's Mansion.
So, Mike, if you think Donkey Kong, 3D, let's say, is happening, do we then think Mario Odyssey 2 could be a thing? Anyone?
I hope so. That was a great game. I'd like to for that. But like Mike said, I'd rather see a new. I would rather play Donkey Kong as a completely new game than a sequel to Mario Odyssey.
Yeah. Okay. No, fair enough. What about you, Lily? Is there anything on here that you would like to see?
Would like to see, Professor Layton.
Yeah.
When
was the last time we saw Professor Layton?
Oh god, I mean they didn't make the Catriel one and they ported it to the Switch. I don't know, I just really wish they'd it just feels like the story feels really unfinished because you have like the Catriel one where she looks for her father, which is Professor Layton, and then it doesn't really finish. Then you have the anime, but it's the anime, it's not a game. It just kind of feels like at least pump out one more to like just round it up, and if not, just a puzzle game in general that's like Professor Layton, whether you make it Professor Layton related or not. If you get those puzzle designs back in and just put it into like a nice story and a nice game, I'm really missing that. Just the kind of things where you can just sit down, relax, and take your time to just solve puzzles. So yeah, I would love to see something like that again, but I'm not very hopeful that we're going to see anything like this
Professor
at
Layton's,
this point in time.
Professor Layton's level 5, is that right?
Yep.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Okay. When was the last time they pumped out a game? Just trying to think. I can't remember level 5.
Oh, I don't know.
They do a lot though.
Yeah.
Isn't it level 5 we also do Ni no Kuni and stuff
Ni no
as well?
Kuni, yeah.
I'm just trying to think if
that's
they, if they
right.
haven't released the game for a while, then maybe it's a good chance.
If only.
I mean, they release a lot on mobile. They're remaking Layton over there just now.
So it would
Sam-
be nice to port it to the Switch as well. Maybe just remake the Layton ones and port them and something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
Ace Attorney style.
yeah, there was that combination game, wasn't there?
I think
Yeah,
that would be fun
versus-
as well.
Yeah. Okay. Luke. Oh, sorry, not Luke. Let's go to Sandy because we haven't gone to you yet. Do you have a prediction or a wish, dream, a desire?
I would actually quite like them to do a sequel to Ring Fit.
Yeah.
Because I can just see myself running out of levels and just being like, well, guess my fitness journey is over.
Mhm.
Whereas it'd be quite nice to have another set of levels, even if it doesn't have to even have to be a game. Just a DLC. Here's adventure number 2 kind of thing.
Ring
quite-
Fit Maker.
You're just gonna get maker on a t-shirt.
Yeah.
Like make a commission.
The thing about Ring Fit is that they updated Ring Fit with the music levels. They put like 3. I thought they were going to continue doing that, and they didn't. It's been a phenomenal sales thing for Nintendo. I think maybe it's too soon for a sequel though. I don't know. Maybe an expansion.
I mean, they did. If you remember the Wii Fit board, I think they had initially an initial game, and then they brought Wii Fit Plus. I think so. Maybe we can hope for something like that for the Ring Fit one as well.
Do you feel a bit with Ring Fit though that it did manage to capitalize on the whole pandemic situation? So I felt like it wasn't gaining much traction, and then as soon as the pandemic hit, the advertisement started to. They really ramped up the advertisement for it. And I think that's when it.
Wait,
really...
so that's why we have a pandemic.
Yes, it's Nintendo.
Animal
Nintendo
Crossing
all
and Ring Fit.
Yeah.
It's true. I mean, Animal Crossing has also sold phenomenally well as well. That's probably as a result of everyone not being able to leave the house. Mike, I can't think of many other Wii U games that haven't yet kind of made their way to Switch. There's probably about 2 or 3 that I can really think of. Do you think we see any of the remaining big Wii U titles now get a Switch port or a deluxe version?
Yeah, I mean, what's left is it.
So
The ones which are left are quite heavily reliant on the gamepad in my mind that I can recall, like StarFox, Nintendo Land. I don't know.
I do think Xenoblade Chronicles X potentially could come over. I think they've just really been putting out a Xenoblade game every year on Switch. Pyro Mithra obviously being in Smash. That might lean more towards that they're still really trying to clamp down on Xenoblade. So I think this could be an easy one for them. I don't know how much did rely on the gamepad to be honest.
That seems likely though. But I would like to see a new StarFox as well, just to put it out there.
In general, I'd love to see a new StarFox. I'd love to see a new Wave Race. I'd love to see a new 1080 and a new F-Zero. Yeah, I think Nintendo could really do so much with their racing IPs, and we'll start with Mario Kart. I think Diddy Kong, Wave Race, F-Zero, any of them, I'll be quite happy. 1080, I'll be really happy with any of those. Just one of them, Lily, you actually mentioned another game as well that I think just before we started talking here about a game that you might like to see coming up on Switch. What do you reckon?
So I really like the Bravely series, and I know we just got Bravely Default 2, but it would be nice to at least maybe announce a sequel. If I remember correctly, with Bravely Default and Bravely Second, they were actually relatively close together, the releases. So maybe we're lucky and we get like a direct sequel to Bravely Default 2. And it's incredibly confusing. I would love a sequel just to know what they would name it.
They might name it Bravely First, just to annoy you.
Just to really throw people off.
We've got that triangle.
So that would be it.
Coming
That would be great.
Yeah, we got Project Strategy Triangle as well.
That is true.
Yeah, that's
Project I can't remember what it's called, but yeah,
I think it's Triangle Strategy.
Triangle Strategy, yeah, whatever it is.
So
Yeah.
that's not known for their confusing naming, are they?
Yeah.
Square Enix. So.
I mean, it was called Project Octopath Traveler initially, wasn't it? So they like putting the word project in there, just like Nintendo putting new at the start of everything. But okay, then let's go over to the 35th anniversary. Sandy, I'm going to throw this to you. Do we see Metroid 35th anniversary? We'll come back to Metroid Prime 4. Do you think we'll see Metroid as a wider anniversary?
I really hope so, because I feel like Metroid is one of their biggest Western franchises that they're still not really capitalizing on at this point.
Yeah.
Even if they could just bung a load of like Metroid 2D platformers from the past in like a little collection on Nintendo Online services, even that would be a start.
Yeah.
Get Fusion up there.
I agree. The last time we saw Fusion, it was on the Ambassador program for the 3DS. I don't know if it actually made its way to the Wii U.
Oh yeah, it was on the Wii U store.
Okay. Going down that road though, I think Metroid Dread. It's been long talked about ever since Metroid Prime 3. Whether we see, which would be Metroid 5 really for everybody else, whether we see that finally come to fruition to sort of bridge that gap between Metroid Prime 4 or whatever it comes out there, I would be great. Mercury Steam did Metroid Samus Returns. Don't know what else they're working on. I think they've got a new IP coming out soon somewhere along the line, but they've been quiet for the last few years. Whether they make a new Castlevania, I don't know, but I don't think they're going to be working on Castlevania again. So yeah, I would be interested to see a Metroid Dread. Mike, what about you? Metroid fan, obviously. Is there anything that you could see them bringing that hasn't been announced?
Yeah, I can't imagine them doing anything big for Metroid's 35th. But obviously, Metroid Prime 4, if that came out this year, that would be huge. But the trilogy's been rumored, and that does seem like a likely thing that Nintendo would do. You know, kind of just go, here you go, have trilogy, maybe throw in an amiibo or a soundtrack or something like that, and then that would be their celebration of Metroid's 25th.
Yeah.
But I would like to see a bit more, a bit more pomp and circumstance around these anniversaries from Nintendo. But I don't know if they will, because I think it's too complicated.
Yeah, I was about to say maybe they shadow drop it, but I don't think they will, because they've got a few other games coming out around that time period, so maybe they don't. Luke, Lily, do you see the possibility of merchandise coming out, official merch? So whether that be, I don't know, Lego and God knows what else.
I think it's amiibos all the way at the moment.
Sandy's right. I think a helmet.
Herbal helmet.
Oh,
Yeah, that'd be nice.
that would be impressive, yeah.
But the amiibo hype train is still massively in motion, isn't it?
I wonder if there's gonna be a Lego amiibo crossover thing that they're gonna think of, like an amiibo that you need to build first or something like that.
Oh, that'd be interesting.
It's sold so well, hasn't it, the Lego, that
Mhm,
it would
yeah.
be strange for them not to keep that going
Yeah.
and
Like
expand a bit.
Meeple? Ami Lego?
Amiibo.
Leggy mode?
Amigo.
Let's transition into a rumor / something we know is happening. So the Switch Pro, the Nintendo Switch Pro. We definitely haven't got enough time for this. Mike, what do you think is going to be on the Nintendo Switch Pro? And do we think Metroid Prime 4 will be the sort of app that goes with that?
Part of me is kind of thinking, because it's been so hotly rumored, like it's pretty much a dead cert. There's still a part of me is because it's so sure. I think it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
But I think if and when it does, I think it would be crazy not to have some kind of tie-in with one of their big IPs, either the Breath of the Wild 2 or Metroid Prime 4, where it's going to really take advantage of that Switch Pro and really incentivize people, especially like people like us, I think, who are probably the hardcore people who are going to support Nintendo. Like that for me is going to be, okay, I'm probably going to have to get a Switch Pro now because I don't.
What would the Switch Pro need to do for you to buy one? Like, what's the defining thing of the Switch Pro? Forget about Metroid for a second.
I think as long as it sticks within the realms of, as long as it's not too expensive, for one thing, if it doesn't price itself out of my affordability, then that's a good thing. But I think Nintendo also does have a very good history of doing good console revisions in terms of like they always up the build quality, or they just feel like the new 3DS for me is like 10 times better than the original.
You think they're going to make the
3DS,
Switch Pro 3D?
I would love that. I
That'd be
think
very interesting.
I think the Glass 3 3D thing is, I think it's underrated. I think people discount it a bit too much, but I think it's an amazing feature that.
Yeah.
But they won't put 3D in the Switch Pro. That'd be crazy.
Lily, what do you think could be coming to a Switch Pro other than glasses
3D?
3D? Yeah.
Yeah, 3D. No, I was wondering if they could manage to essentially up the graphics if you have it in a dock. Perhaps by even just upgrading the dock itself instead of the console. In a way that I don't know, maybe two computers plug them together kind of idea.
Your
Who
husband
knows?
said something very similar earlier in the year when we had this prediction for the last Nintendo Switch Direct.
Well, we
Sandy-
are married, so
Sandy, you said something similar to this. Do you still stand by that? Do you think anything in the last few months has changed your opinion? Whether a docked
So-
superpower?
I don't think they wouldn't replace the original console. I feel like the console needs to fundamentally change to support a more powerful dock.
Yeah.
I feel like they could do with making its case out of a more sturdy material because the plastic in mine is disintegrating.
dropped it.
Joy-Cons need a revision. The screen's fine. Maybe make it out of glass this time. Make sure it's nice and sturdy. Maybe an OLED. 4K output on TV via NVIDIA DLSS scaling graphics. Then it can probably support pretty much anything that's going on at the moment. If they did that, I think. Essentially like plugging your Switch into a graphics card when you put it in the dock.
yeah, make it 3D, no problem.
and Luke, if it had everything that Sandy just mentioned there, how much do you think it would be?
I want it to be no more than 370. I think that is the.
Well,
I think it's going to be 379.
Wait. If we say we want it to be, we can say we don't want it to be more than 50.
$11.99.
Yeah.
50
We've
quid.
got to be realistic about how much what's actually going to be in there. Like, I want it to be. I
I
wouldn't mind it
don't
being
want to pay
300.
more than. I don't want to pay more than a PS5 or a Series X for a Switch Pro.
Mm-hmm.
But everything that Sandy has said, everything that Lily has said, Mike, all of that stuff would be great. But they also know that if they put Breath of the Wild on it and make it an exclusive, they don't have to do any of those things. They just have to like improve the battery life and make the screen a bit brighter. But like they have got that good history, like Mike said, and they do go out of their way to make their revisions impressive. So I think that they will go that extra mile, even though they don't really have to for people like us, if they make sure that we can't get Breath of the Wild anywhere else.
Yeah,
We are.
I'd like a
D-pad.
D-pad on the Joy-Con as
D-pad.
well.
Yeah, that's a good shout actually. The Hori pads have been a lifesaving.
The Joy-Cons in general could be updated a bit.
It
Or
could
cheaper.
be. I think the difficulty is if they update the Joy-Con, you kind of alienate the older people who've got older Switches unless somehow you can make them the same size, but just improve the
like an Xbox Pro controller. Just fancify it, make it out of better materials.
Well, back with the Switch, they had them. They had those Wii Remote Plus or whatever they were. The
Motion
extra
Plus.
Motion Plus. They had that one.
Add-ons.
I think that goes into the bottom. And then the later revisions of the controllers had them baked in as well. So,
like the one behind you, Neil.
We are, like the one behind me. Yeah. Now we are rapidly running out of time here, but let's go into the things that we are fairly certain that will show up, and we'll run through these very quickly. Metroid Prime 4, which we just talked about. Are we going to see it? Hands up. Yes. No. I think
it's the time now. Yeah.
I think we have to.
Lily. Yeah. No. Thinking no. Maybe. Okay. I think we see a trailer rather than gameplay. I don't think we're going to see too much. I think it's still really far behind. I don't think it's coming out this year. I think it's coming out 2023 at this rate.
I think they'll show 40 minutes on the treehouse of just Morph Ball gameplay.
we have got the treehouse, and we just anything could get shown in there. Mario Golf Super Rush. I think we see a very brief thing in that. I think that's actually going to be in the treehouse actually, because that comes out very soon afterwards. God, we need more time here. Smash Brothers Fighters Pass. 2 characters left. We're gonna have to go really quickly. No excuses. No bits and bobs. Sandy, who do you think is going to be in there? Luke, who do you think is going to be in there?
Quick, Sandy.
Sandy, quick. Crash and Sora. Done.
Crash and Sora. Mike?
With the Kingdom Hearts collection.
Gino from RPG.
Yeah. Lily?
Professor Layton.
Okay.
Harsh.
Sandy? Go anyone? Do you think we're going to see Smash characters in?
I assume so. There'll be a Smash reveal. There has to be.
Yeah.
Not a Nintendo Direct without a Smash reveal. Bayonetta 3. Anyone expecting to see Bayonetta 3?
Yeah.
Not after the statement Platinum put out.
Really?
Oh.
They basically said, don't even ask us for information. Like, don't pretend this game's coming out. We should never have announced it. It will come eventually.
Yeah, you're based that on facts, though. You know. That's
I mean, if it's not on facts, yeah, they'll show it this time. I want it.
Okay. Do we think we see any more Pokemon? We've got Pokemon with one of the confirmed things that we have this winter.
Release date trailers, I guess.
Yeah.
Pokemon Lego?
To reconfirm.
Maybe.
I think somebody else has the rights to that.
Oh, maybe.
Who knows? I think it's like those tiny little blocks that are horrific.
We already know Splatoon 3 is 2022.
Is it 3 we're on? I thought we were on 4.
Splatoon 3, 2022. They announced it earlier in the year. They dated it. I don't think they're going to pull that forward. So, okay, and finally, let's move on to Zelda's 35th. There is unequivocally, this is probably going to be the biggest part of the presentation. I could see them spending the most time here. I can spend them spending the most time in the treehouse, talking about this as well. The question for me is, do they show both Skyward Sword remastered or HD or whatever they're calling it, and Breath of the Wild 2? Do they show everything? Luke, what do you think they're going to show Zelda-wise?
I hope that we see Breath of the Wild 2 gameplay and a bit of Treehouse. I don't need to see more of Skyward Sword. Skyward Sword with better graphics. We're going to buy it if we want to buy it. If they took a lot of time doing that in the Treehouse and dedicated to that, I think it's a massively missed opportunity. I think there can be a lot of people disappointed by that. Either show us Breath of the Wild 2 and just show us that it's coming, there's a release date, use the Treehouse to focus on some other stuff, or just don't show us Skyward Sword at all.
And Luke, just staying with you for a second, Breath of the Wild 2 is coming this year?
I think so.
Really?
But the question is, what are we getting that on? Because if it is coming this year and the Switch Pro is happening,
it's gotta be in 3D.
Yeah, Breath of the Wild Maker, I've heard rumors for.
I mean, Mike, you sort of alluded to this in your sort of when we were talking about the Nintendo Switch Pro just then. Personally, the one thing that Nintendo tend to do is know how to reuse their assets quite well. We've seen it with Ocarina and Majora's Mask, where not only on the N64 but also the 3DS, they reuse things and they enhance it slightly. Mike, do you think that there is going to be a massive jump if it was a Nintendo Switch Pro version? Do you think it's going to be a massive jump between what the games look like, or do you think that power would be used for something else?
Yeah, it's hard to say, isn't it, really? Because I think, it's not going to look disproportionately different from Breath of the Wild 1 if it's running off the same engine. And the sort of the graphic style of that isn't really beholden to, you don't want, the textures could be higher and stuff like that, but it's not really in line with the art direction of that game, I think. So I think the most likely place it's going to differentiate itself is probably going to be frame rate and upscaling. So yeah, it's like being able to play it on 4K. And to be honest, that probably would be enough for me. To be honest, I think Breath of the Wild is a great looking game, despite not being a technical powerhouse, sort of. But it's still the first game I think I saw with all the grass blades in it and stuff, which blew me away the first time I saw that.
Yeah. Lily, are you a fan of Zelda?
I played one and then I got killed by a spider over and over, and then I got so angry that I stopped. So, no, not really. But yeah, I think there'll be a 3D Zelda maker.
3D Zelda maker.
Yeah.
Sandy, do you think a playable Princess Zelda could be a protagonist in Breath of the Wild? Or you get to choose either or, maybe it's two different stories.
I think that would be a complete game changer in terms of Zelda games. Is that obviously the side stuff like Hyrule Warriors, where Zelda is a playable character in some of them. I think if they came from that angle for Breath of the Wild 2, that would offer up that little adjustment in terms of characters in the story. Because Breath of the Wild, obviously, it was quite sparse in terms of characters. There were good characters, but there were not many, not a lot of them. I feel like what we're going to see, really, that's going to separate this game from the previous is more locations, more sort of populated areas, and maybe more underground and tunnels and stuff like that, given that their reveal trailer was them going underground and finding Ganondorf impaled on a sword or whatever it was.
I'm
maybe
thinking Dark World, like Link to the Past. Yeah.
Dark World, Shadow World, whatever they want to call it, yeah.
I'd like to think that it wasn't just going to be the same Hyrule again. I think
it's hard, isn't it? They've got the map, they've made it. Surely they would reuse it in some way, shape, or form. But you're right, at the same time, then we could just play the original Breath of the Wild. So,
or the same, but with more populous towns and underground, giving it a bit more depth.
Lily's got an idea.
Literally.
Breath of the Wild Lego.
Breath of the Wild Lego. I think it could be done.
I think it could.
Breath of the Lego.
Breath of the Lego.
Lego of the Wild.
And Luke, just speaking there about the locations and the sort of Shadow World and stuff like that, is that something you would like to see? Would you prefer to see that, or would you prefer them to sort of expand the outer land, maybe take it out to sea, or maybe take it on the tracks or something like that, and find the other worlds?
I think it's all dependent on what console we're getting this on. Like, if you're going to make the effort and bring us a Switch Pro with an exclusive Breath of the Wild 2 on it, then yeah, I want all of those things. I want to be able to go underground. I want to be able to use trains, boats. I want the effort.
Yeah. Now, do any of you remember what this does in Breath of the Wild?
No.
Don't
remember what any of those things do.
Is that no? It's not the motorbike.
No,
that's
the DLC.
Does it spawn a little wolf link that follows you around a little bit?
That's right. Now, when you played Twilight Princess HD, which launched not too far before Breath of the Wild, actually no, they did launch quite far behind. But you could level up this amiibo in Twilight Princess HD, and then you could bring this amiibo to Breath of the Wild with its sort of leveled up parts, containers, and everything like that, and scan it, and the Wolf Link amiibo would come and help you fight hordes of enemies. Now, something tells me that the Skyloft amiibo could potentially allow Link to fly in Breath of the Wild 2.
Spawn a Loftwing.
Now,
That would be cool.
That
would be
that'd
cool.
be a reason to buy one.
yeah, the Skyloft amiibo is like 30 quid. Did anyone pre-order it? Did anyone not pre-order it?
Yeah.
No one pre-ordered it.
Pre-ordered the Joy-Cons. But
I've
they seemed
got-
a bit more useful for that extra bit of money.
Yeah. Okay. I think that Nintendo will shadow drop the Hyrule Warriors DLC. I think I can't remember what it's called. Why do I forget what it's being called? Age of Calamity. Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. We were told that DLC was coming in June. They've already announced. I think they've given the pre-order bonuses away at the end of May. I think, as you know, they'll show a trailer as to what the things we're doing say available today. I think it's an easy one for them. It's not out yet. They said it's going to be June, so that should happen. As it's Zelda's 35th, we'll save the idea of a compilation game because we could go around in circles talking about whether they're going to do compilations or not. But what I will say actually is, if they did do a compilation game, whether it be the original Zeldas, you know, the sort of 2D Zeldas, or even the Game Boy Zeldas, or 64 Zeldas, or whatever else, I don't think they're going to do Wind Waker and Twilight Princess, because I think if they were going to do it, they'll do it the same way they're doing Skyward Sword. But if they did do a compilation game, are they going to make it time limited like they made Mario 35th anniversary?
Yeah,
And yeah, you think they will?
Probably.
Yeah, I'd agree
Same
with
thing.
I think so.
September release date, gone by March 31st.
Hmm.
And I would probably buy it.
yeah, well, yeah,
Exactly.
Buy a couple of copies. No, I could see them doing it, but I just don't know what game's going to be in there personally. Do they go all the way up to Majora's and just have kind of like what they had with the GameCube version, where they have Zelda 1, 2, Ocarina and Majora's? I don't know.
Could be
Just like an
disappointing.
Oracle
They might
collection.
just do. Oh, sorry. Look, you go first.
Sorry, yeah, I was just saying. I think I'd like an Oracle collection. Like I never played through all of them, and they're massively underrated.
Well, here's the other thing. Do they announce a sequel to Link's Awakening? Not a sequel, it's not a sequel, but have the Oracle games in that art style. We talked about that again earlier in the year with the other Nintendo Direct. Did you see that happening, Luke?
I don't, but I would buy it if it was. I think they're going to take the easy route, like you said. There's going to be some sort of collection, limited time release, some nice Zelda T-shirts with 35 on them. Like I lapped all of that up. You know, I was all in for that timed exclusivity, and I think they know how much money they've made in that. So why make too much effort? Focus on Breath of the Wild 2 and just throw that stuff at us for us to pick up.
Yeah. And Mike, do you think there could be a spin-off game? We had games before in the past that they've sort of used to fill the gap, like Cadence of Hyrule, a rhythm game. You know, we've had crossbow training and things like that. Do you think there could be a spin-off, or do you think we're just literally sticking to Skyward Sword and Breath of the Wild 2?
They've definitely shown that they're open to doing that now. So it wouldn't necessarily surprise me, but I do think Skyward, and if Breath of the Wild is this year, that's more than enough Zelda to satiate people's wants and needs. You know what I mean? I think you're at risk of maybe over exposing the franchise, and if you release too much. But I don't know.
Do you think
cool to cross them over with?
Do you think Breath of the Wild 2? Oh, Zelda races, yeah. But we had a sort of Zelda level in Mario Kart, and
But just on Skyloft, just like flying around on loft wings.
That would be exactly the kind of thing Nintendo would do as well. Where it's just like a small little download thing, or like got some weird peripheral with it, and that's all you can do. It's just like, it's just one course, and that's it.
So again, but we'll do a show of hands here. Who thinks that Breath of the Wild 2 is coming out this holiday?
I'd say it this year.
Wow.
Yes. Yeah.
I want it to, but I reckon it'll be mid next year.
Yeah.
Maybe, yeah. I can see it maybe being dated for this year, and then delayed to next year.
I don't think they could delay. I don't think they could date it in June for this year and then knowingly full well not release it this year. It'd be weird.
I mean, when
because
does
then they only have a couple of months to say, "Oh, sorry, yeah, it's this year."
Skyward comes out in July, right?
Yeah, July for Skyward. We know Pokemon Diamond and Pearl come out. I think is it November, and we know
November and January next
if
year.
Pokemon's coming out in November, they can hold off there, can't they? They've
Yeah.
already.
But then that's a remake.
Their big title out.
I reckon that Breath of the Wild 2 will be July next year, a year after Skyward Sword.
So then, what comes out this holiday? What is Nintendo's defining Q4 title? Because it can't be Pokemon Diamond and Pearl because it's a remake.
The question is,
Mario
do Nintendo
Kart.
care about quarter 4?
I think people care about Christmas. They
Like they're just
Um,
like, no, we're not going to release anything for the big holiday season.
Maybe
We're
they'll,
always buying stuff.
maybe they'll surprise us with a new IP.
I think it's got to be something we don't know about already because the stuff that we do know about is all next year. Well, it's a lie. We don't know if Metroid Prime 4 or Breath of the Wild 2 whenever they're coming out, but just by our suspicions.
Yeah.
Well, I think either way, Nintendo fans are going to be in for a real treat. 40 minutes of Nintendo Direct goodness at E3 on Tuesday. Be sure to watch it. We will probably have some form of reactions, won't we? We'll probably do something.
Yeah.
But guys, no, thank you very much for joining. It has been a phenomenal Nintendo chat for E3. And guys, everyone again, thank you for joining me and watching, and we will see you next time. That's everything.